What up, random rockers? And some of the younger ones that I'm hoping will see this. Possibly, I don't know if my niece and nephew will, because this will be sort of a family film. So, I will usually refrain from my usual mouthiness from other videos, because I want you kids to be able to enjoy this, what I have to say, up to a point. So, we were talking about Pixar's Lightyear. This movie may seem, I think it's trying to do its best to cater to a more modern audience, both its younger crowd, a demographic, and the said parents who either grew up to Toy Story or and whatnot. So, and it's supposedly that this is the film back in '95 that Andy himself had seen that led him to wanting to get the Buzz Lightyear toy. Despite what despite like how, I mean, and Chris Evans voices him this time around as opposed to Tim Allen. And they do have certain things that are like, I don't know whether or not if there was a possible sequel in that universe to this movie that could make sense of what happens in the TV series. It was in the TV series that I remember growing up to in the 2000s with Buzz Lightyear of Star Command. I'd love to see how they could do that. There's potential in it, given the way things have happened in this movie. And I like that they made it more sort of a sci-fi action with a time travel sort of element to it, I guess, in a way. Or Buzz Lightyear basically is on a planet with other life forms dealing with certain things, and then unfortunately having to, him and his partner Alicia Hawthorne, and trying to find a way to get off the planet, eventually get off the planet, only for Buzz to screw up, and they're forced to stay for a year forced to have to stay on the year, and throughout this time are on this mission to try to find a way to get themselves out of this by trying to go into hyperspace. And somewhat in doing so, he winds up somehow throughout the many somehow going through time many years to a point where it eventually leads to what we see of him with meeting his partner Alicia Hawthorne's apparent granddaughter, who was time marooned on this planet. And then finding out that that this supposed Emperor Zurg is ruling over this planet that's forced them to have to stay and I like the way Chris Evans handles Buzz very well. And then, of course, things happen with this point forward. It just goes from there. I'm trying to do my best to not be spoilerish, because what happens in the trailer does sort of happen, but not. But that doesn't necessarily take place until, honestly, the latter half of the film. So, because there's other things that happen in the beginning that's weirdly more interesting, or at least to the more adult audience, I guess, as opposed to the kids. Which I think is more the people that were growing up and was hoping to get that idea across. Don't know if it will fully land as being that, but I could see it sort of working, I guess, depending on the age. I'm trying to figure out the age he was in this. I guess he was 10, maybe 8 to 10 demographic, somewhere around there. So, and he would be, I guess, in the first movie. So, TD Mo Morrison, which honestly I think his character was kind of annoying to me. Kids might like him, but I don't. Some of you kids that might see this video might like him. I don't, unfortunately. And I like Waititi and what he does as a director in some of the movies and some of his acting roles here and there, but this just ain't one of them. Palmer, who voices Izzy, the granddaughter. To Alicia. Bill Hader apparently plays this rookie Feathering Hamstan or whatever. Weird enough name. They kind of poke at it. It was kind of funny. So, what I do like, and overall, I had the feeling that this film is more of a. I'll give it a thumbs up. I'm not gonna say that it's the best of the Pixar's. It's definitely sort of a more mid-tier than I would say. I wouldn't consider it lower, too much on the lower tier of Pixar. Just more of a mid-tier one, as opposed to like some of the more top tier stuff, especially for being more related to the Toy Story property. But I liked it. I definitely say I think kids might have fun with this, or at least if you go as a family, you'll have fun with this. More so. I do hope that the younger kids wind up seeing the original series and seeing how much more interesting I think that those characters were and how much more better developed they were because of the series than what was going on in this movie. But I'm wondering if it was that property from that universe that Andy was watching. It's possible there was a sequel possibly to this that might wind up weirdly could potentially have tied in to that series. And where they go from there, I guess. Or at least depending on if this film's successful enough or not. It's probably the first they've released one in a theater, apparently. And I guess because of the name itself and it's tying in with one of their bigger properties, they were hoping for it to go over well. I don't know. Given the word of mouth of this is sort of saying it's more of a mid-tier one. It's whatever. I heard Turning Red's actually kind of more interesting, but of the Pixar film that come out this year. I still need to see that, though. And I've heard of other more interesting family films that have come out this year but I liked this movie. I liked it a lot. I feel like it's definitely at least worthy matinee. Worthy to go see in a matinee price. Like I said, thumbs up. I may have to go through some slight spoilers here and there, so you have been warned in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so like I had kind of sort of said, they were removed from this planet. Unfortunate things go wrong where Buzz does not take heed with his own habits as a rookie and realizes it's his own fault that they're stuck on this planet and marooned on here, and they basically adapt to their environment for a year until they have the tools, the ability necessarily to find a way to travel and get back home. And in order to do that quicker, they need to go light speed. But in doing so, it winds up to where every time he does this, he winds up coming back and missing everything that's happened. And because of this mission, getting obsessed with it to the point where he misses so much of everything when he should just focus on just winds up missing so much in the process, and or at least it gets to a certain point up until, unfortunately, Alicia, who is the commanding officer of the whole thing, winds up having to go through and pass away, and then the new guy Burnside comes in and basically tries to cancel the whole thing and wants to pretty much just stay there. Buzz, being stubborn, decides to not listen to them and do it. And apparently there's something happens to where he goes super light speed, and then all of a sudden finally does succeed at going light speed, and yet somehow winds up in this other time frame years after this moment, and winds up officially meeting his granddaughter at an older age, or Izzy at an older age. Alicia, his old partners, and some of his crew that are somehow outside from the city, which is on lockdown because of Zurg. Where again, they're trying to stop basically Zurg and stop Zurg while also helping him figure out, while Buzz is also trying to figure out his mission. The big spoiler alert is how they chose to handle Zurg, which I guess can be a problem, but the way it works within the story of this film, it works fine to me. Buzz, it turns out Zurg is Buzz from an alternate timeline that when Lightspeed he succeeded, and then they tried to being greeted, and so he flew off, found this ship which had the robot that and wind up using it to basically everyone in place so he can redo it speed and try to utilize it to go back in time. He can go back in time and fix everything, only to the point where now the Buzz that we know throughout most of this movie winds up having, which that version has become more nihilistic and everything. It's so stuck on the mission that he just kind of doesn't show any sense of nihilistic and sort of apathetic, that he just doesn't care. So which are the consequences of what happens, as long as he and all those people get a chance to go back to Earth. And so in turn, Buzz realizes his own conundrum and finally gets over his own stuff, especially when it comes to dealing with rookies, with the help of them, even though those rookies, the misfits, I didn't care for them. I felt like I wanted it to be him and his partner Socks, which he gained, which is voiced by Peter Sorn, I believe. That is the cat companion for Buzz, and he's just hysterical to me, and it's just I'm sure the kids will find him hysterical as well, or at least I found him way more enjoyable. Overall, I enjoyed what this movie was, and I think it's a fun time. Worth going to a theater for a matinee. And eventually it gets to a point where they basically form their own little Star Command on the ship. And it's amazing. I enjoyed this film. I do get how that twist is a little messed up for some people, but I understood where they were going with it. And I kind of liked what they were doing with it. Though luckily, with the way they did a couple weird, silly, funny things in the credits. But there is a thing, if you stay completely to the end, where it seems Zurg comes back, but it's clearly seems to be more the robot portion of him, which could be the Emperor Zurg we know, and not the version that was this the Buzz Lightyear that took over the suit or whatever. So it's a possibility they're setting up, possibly if they do a sequel, they finally might tie this in to where we could finally get something sort of close enough to what we were getting, that what could make sense of how that would tie in with what we got from the series. So at least the TV series of Buzz Lightyear Star Command would still somewhat seem like it was canon, or at least somewhat make sense for that series' existence with these properties of movies. Or at least I'm hoping they can at least pull that off and like make this an even better movie, hopefully, than what this is, which fingers crossed that happens, so we can get that and see that unfold. Or at least that's my hopes for it. Socks was funny, and I wish it was more Socks and him instead, but it's fine. I understand. If I get if it's not as much for everyone, but it's a decent sci-fi action style movie at its best. But like I said, I did enjoy it for what it was. I didn't like have. I get how it's. Like I can sort of get to me, I was able to sort of see how this movie could potentially, though there's some ideas you could tell is also fighting the current time frame of things with, trying to be woke, I guess, with certain things that happen, like the fact that the Commander Hawthorne essentially wound up having, which you kids may not fully understand this. You may have to talk to your parents about this. It's a bit of an issue, but it's a sort of a social thing to this, but has a thing with a woman, and they are romantic partners. We'll put it that way. I technically didn't have a problem with it, though I could see how it wouldn't fit for the time frame of 1995. Someone who grew up around that time frame. Then, granted, I live in a more Midwestern, primarily conservative town, so it's definitely different from this. So I don't know how places that were more liberal oriented were like, yeah, I don't mean to get politics into it, but. Oh well, those are little thoughts, but it's not much of anything. Those are the things that were considered possibly, but I didn't mind them, or they didn't bother me. They could, some people, but they wouldn't bother me. And I'm not sure it'll bother any kids. It might have them ask questions to their parents about certain things, but other than that, which I don't find there's not too much that's that concerning, though some people think there's elements of this that could be more considered scary, I guess, but not really. At least not in a way that I guess you could say might have happened in Star Wars anyway, which this somewhat takes from, if not some elements of Star Trek as well, and other film stuff. But those are my thoughts. What did you guys think of Pixar's LightYear? Leave a comment below. Let me know. Links to my socials if you want to see my pages there. And as always, guys, keep it random. Keep it random, keep it real, keep it rocking, and I will see you in the next video, whatever that may be. Take care, y'all.